wait. And baby, I'm TFC till I die.
It's a new week, new episode, new era for the show. Welcome to the inaugural edition of Toronto Till I Die. Same show, same time, same faces or voices, depending upon how you take in this show. But a new name, some amazing new branding, thanks to the incredible Annie Hart. And you can expect things to only get bigger and better from here. My name is Michael Tierney, and this is something of a teaser episode for the show. Call it an episode 0 in true Darby
I was waiting.
fashion. You know, I had to get that in there. On the show, we'll chat, of course, your Toronto FC defeating the undefeated Paz, Mavinga, Jimenez, Nelson, and so much more. But first, Jeffrey P. Nesker, Michael Singh. My Tuesdays just aren't the same without you guys, and I'm so glad to be back.
I know. Let's do this. This is great.
I don't know what you're talking about. My last Tuesday was great.
I
was on a beach in Mexico, hanging out pool bars sometimes. It was great. I didn't miss you guys one bit.
Now, pool bars. I mean, what if you spill your drink? Isn't that like kind of peeing in the pool? Like, is that frowned upon?
Definitely, I think it's frowned upon.
Okay.
I just, try not to think about it. Let's just hope the chemicals in the pool water just take care of all of that vodka. Business. You're right, though. It is different, especially with the times that we're living in now. It's like tough not to think about that. But then you just get like 4 drinks in you and you're just fine.
And then you're just spilling everywhere. Who cares? That's why they call it all inclusive. Absolutely.
Like I said, guys, same show. The first topic we pick up is pool bars. So we're going to go on the same tangents, the same random offshoot conversations here. But let's bring it back to your Toronto FC. Actually, first, do you guys want to say anything on the new show, the new branding? Because obviously this is exciting for us, going kind of independent in some ways. Obviously, Jeff's still with Waking the Red, Michael's still with the Parlay. We've still got plenty of roots there, but we wanted to kind of do our own thing here, and obviously we're super excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely free and unencumbered. We're going podcast commando, for lack of a better word, and here we go.
Yeah, I think the ambition that I have for this show, and I've spoken with Mitch and Jeff about, is bigger and better. We want to be able in the future to bring you guys some really exciting exclusive interviews with this show, albeit it'll be up to bigger bodies than us if we can land some of those, but we want to do this right. We want to continue to bring you guys, I hope, some positivity, some joy on Tuesday afternoons. And hey, now it's a better time to talk about Toronto FC than it was over the last year, right?
Holy, it's a better time to talk about anything, guys. I don't know about you. I mean, obviously, Mike, you've been outside, but I'm going outside a lot more than I have over the last 2.5 years. So this feels like the spring cleaning that's occurring in all of our souls, right? Maybe one of these days we'll do one of these live in a room, all 3 of us together, and figure out what camera we're going to use for it. and onward and upward, boys. I'm just so happy. It's been at least 3 weeks, just talking to you guys over text. So it's so nice to see your faces again. And we get to talk about Toronto FC, which are absolutely, going against the grain, going against expectations right now. The club that we love is for lack of a better word, and I know I'm going to bring up some of the comments on WTR from some of our favorite posters in the community later, but without putting our foot in our mouths, our team are kind of killing it right now. Let's be honest.
I think you actually summed it up best when you said spring cleaning, because that seems the best way to sort of describe what this team did heading into what this first stretch of the season here, which I'm sure we'll get into it, but for me it's been an amazing success. As we talked about in the past so many times, it's a results oriented league. I know Will Dunn here in the chat already bringing up the expected goals. which is which is
Yeah.
of course a talking point. I think legitimate talking point. Yeah, exactly.
Guys, was it the same for you? Like one day XG just suddenly was in every conversation about soccer ever. Like on a Tuesday it wasn't, and then on a Wednesday everybody brought it up. It was just like the new hot thing. It was like NFTs. One day they didn't exist, and then the next day everybody was getting rich off them. So yeah. One of these days you're gonna have to explain XG in a way that I can understand and start peppering into my smart soccer conversation.
Well, today won't be that day. Neither.
No, that I said one day. I did not say today.
I was about to dive in.
Do it.
Well, no, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Expected goals is XG, and depending on the opportunity that you have, you're given a score out of 1.00. So let's say a penalty shot, the expected goals on that penalty shot is like 0. I don't know,
I think it's
0.8 or something like.
I'm pretty sure.
Friend of the show, Rachel has offered to step in and explain XG to me, and that'll be 4.5 hours, but it will be riveting. All 4.5 hours will be riveting. No, that's important. That's an important note that I didn't know, that you're assigned points on a sliding scale based of level of difficulty, and that like I did not know that, and that now it makes a whole lot more sense to me, right? Because obviously like a high percentage shot should be rated differently than a low percentage shot, you know. Like if you're forced to shoot outside the box, then XG as a metric kind of is meaningless unless it's got a difficulty attached to it.
You think about that Jonathan Osorio goal 4 weeks ago against DC United, when Luca Petrasso cut down the wing, put in a cross, and Ozo came in sliding down 2 feet. The expected goal on that is not very high. I think it was something like 0.08 or something like that. But yet Jonathan Osorio finds a way to put that in the back of the net. So therefore TFC don't get a good expected goal rating, but hey, that's not what matters right now, right?
It's and therein lies the challenge, right? Because it still matters, right? Like we still got a goal there, right? So when people bring up XG as like this sort of like, you know, the metric to end all metrics, I have a problem with that, because it there's
no metric to end all metrics other than sweet points, baby. That's
the metric that ends like if you win or you lose, right? And it seems that people are sort of muddying the waters with this XG stuff. And I love metrics, you know, the more the merrier. This sounds weird from somebody that doesn't really know his multiplication tables off by heart, but I love the metrics. Bring it on. Just don't try and hammer me over the head with something that is that variable as the metric that ends all metrics.
Exactly.
Jeff's been here the past couple of weeks being like, why are we multiplying everything by G? I don't understand this at all.
Guys, I didn't know what MD-1 meant. I had to Google that. I'm telling you. I'm kind of like, yeah. I had no idea. I'll be honest with you.
Algebraic.
I was like, Michael Dadley -1. What's going on here? Yeah, exactly. By the way, it's match day -1.
There you go. Yeah. But without diving too much into analytics, like on this show, it's for me, like I just use analytics as sort of that icing on the cake kind of thing, where
fair.
I watch the games, I can make my own inference with that, but I look at analytics as something to either reinforce sort of what I'm seeing, or just open my eyes to potentially something new. But it's never an end all be all, as kind of what you're alluding to there. I actually agree with you.
Yeah, we have a sneak peek from Rachel again. Just most important is expected goals to actual goals. If you have more goals than expected goals, you're overperforming. If you have less, you're underperforming. Makes sense. Also, those are words.
Yeah, we will get into that a little bit more, because I do think it's definitely worth bringing up in kind of the counter argument to all the excitement that's been going on lately with Toronto FC. But it's match day +3, I think, since Toronto FC defeated the Philadelphia Union, and are the first team this year to do so. So let's chat a little bit about that match. I mean, obviously, you can talk about the expected goals in that match in a sense of like, clearly, I think Philadelphia were probably the better team in this match. But again, it's another scrappy performance for Toronto FC. It's another win, and I think they're 3-0-1 at home now, which for me, I think of everything to happen so far this season, that's the most important, and the best sign is Toronto FC looks like a decent team at home again. I mean, obviously, the Red Bull match aside, this is a team that at home seems to be finally finding ways to claw out the big wins they need. And look, in MLS, that's all you need to do to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Still in 2022. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just looking here. Our away record is kind of yikes. Has anybody done the comparison with where we are now versus, say, 2017? Because I remember there were a lot of scrappy dappy wins at the outset of 2017, right? We didn't really feel like world beaters until the summer rolled around, and then suddenly we looked at the standings and realized that we were doing something great. I think we're realizing nowadays that we're doing something great, well ahead of the curve here, right? Would you say that's at least fair?
I think that's a testament to kind of where we are in our fandom, our level of fandom. You know, there's been a select group of diehards who have done this from the get-go, but I feel like collectively the TFC community cares a lot more about each and every game, and they're watching, you know, the standing in each and every game because of how invested they are in the team. I think that's just a testament to that.
That's a fair point.
As opposed to, you know, waiting until the summer when things get really, really interesting. That's when, you know, everyone starts to scoreboard watch. But I think that's just honestly the vibe that I've gotten. I could be completely wrong about that.
It's a fair vibe. It's a fair vibe.
With the way that soccer is going in this country, I just see it hand in hand there. So that's just me.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with you. I mean, especially after last year, right? We're all sort of looking for signs that, you know, the pendulum has shifted. You know, looking for signs that you know, what we've had to endure over the last couple of years is well and truly over. I'm not going to say with 100% certainty that it is, because that would be a fool's statement. But all signs point to yes, guys. I mean, this team is fun to watch, and they haven't been fun to watch in a very long time. So, you know, at least we've got that going for us. Yeah, I mean, damn, you're gonna make me talk about that Philly game, and then I'm just gonna start giggling like an idiot because of what Pozuelo did. That was unbelievable. I was cackling for at least 2 hours, just walking around my house, occasionally stopping and having like a big old laugh because he undressed that team. That was insanity. That was a superb bit of goal scoring there. You know, I know they were all afraid to touch him because they were worried about getting a penalty called against him, but he went right through that line. I mean, that was nuts. That was you know, head down, just close control. And then the first goal, the Jimenez goal was I mean, you know, I know you've got him listed. We're going to talk about him in detail later, so I don't really want to jump the gun. But this guy, man, holy crap, what a finish. Like, this is a proper number 9, you know? This guy's a proper number 9 in like a Robert Lewandowski kind of mold. You know, he's invisible until you're picking the goal out of the back of the net. You know, his runs are so smart. He makes space for himself. He's got an unholy chemistry with anybody that we put on the field, which you know, can't be understated. I really like him, and I think this was a really good signing.
On that Jimenez goal, one note I just wanted to make was just to give, and in general, I think, because there was a couple weeks back on the show. I mean, this could be like 2 months ago at this point, given how long we've taken time off. But I did mention Jonathan Osorio as a guy I wanted to step up. And again, this was after the first couple of games of the season where, look, it wasn't that he was it wasn't in any way that he was an issue with the team. It wasn't that I thought he was playing, you know, poorly in any means, but it was that I saw glimpses of what he's done the past few games and thought he could get there. And I mean, he's been unbelievable the past couple
unbelievable.
He's been running that midfield show.
I think that was me. I think you're taking credit for Michael.
I'm taking credit for criticizing Osorio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we were both.
I think I said it too. Yeah.
We were both saying that. I wanted to see Osorio step. That was particularly after the first game of the season. After he scored that goal. I want to see a better version of Jonathan Osorio. How could you get the best out of Osorio? And the way that Bob's done it this year is dropping back into that double pivot with him and Michael. The relationship that they have in that positioning is unbelievable. I mean, when Michael, most of the time, obviously Michael likes to stay at home, but they have a great understanding of where each other is on the field. And it's no longer just Michael as that outlet pass where everyone's just expecting TFC to play through Michael. Ozo has stepped into that role. And, after Canada qualified for the World Cup, that first game back at BMO Field, I mean, this guy was playing with some next level swagger. He only went about 60 minutes against New York City FC, but I saw it from his first touch. He's taking an extra half second on the ball, because he has that level of confidence. And man, that's continued so far this season. And there's a good argument to be made that he could be Toronto FC's best player through these first 8 games or 7 games, wherever we are this season. Now, very interesting that we bring up Ozo here, Mitch, because he's on the verge of making his 300th Toronto FC appearance. But I put an asterisk beside that because, as we all remember, our guy Ozo, he unfortunately left last match with a little bit of what looked to be a thigh injury. And that was something he dealt with, I think, a couple times last season. So at the very least, it has to be a little bit concerning. I will try and get an update on that this week, as early as tomorrow, as we head back into training. I know potentially some people are there today as well, so maybe look out for an update on Ozo's status. But he's in line to make his 300th appearance this weekend in New York City against the reigning MLS Cup champions.
Wow, that's a pretty cool
and
spot.
Their big, huge banner. Yeah, love that banner. I was worried. Oh, go ahead, Mitch. Go.
Well, yeah, no worries. I just wanted to quickly sum that up by saying, and I don't throw this term around lightly, that Oso play was Mo Salah-esque. Like the way he was able to manipulate space without moving the ball.
Yeah.
Like how he stopped. Like that's what Mo Salah does when he's at his very best. Like there's that goal earlier in the year that Mo Salah scored where the ball doesn't move, but he makes so many feints and step overs on the ball that
puts him on skates. Absolutely.
Oso did that to the same extent. And that's why we were criticizing Oso earlier in the year, is not because, he wasn't playing well. It was because we know he has this next level in him. And that was a sign of, the peak Jonathan Osorio and how special this guy is to Toronto FC.
Funny you should say that too, because Mo Salah is one of Bob Bradley's favorite players to watch.
He is, he sure is. Yep.
He's used him as an example a number of times of showing. I wrote about this and the fact that Bob's always.
Let's not forget
video.
He coached Mo Salah. Bob Bradley.
Yeah.
There you go. I did forget that, but that does, of course, with Egypt. But yeah, he is one of his favorite players to show video of. I mean, he mentioned as well Trent Alexander-Arnold. So. He's a big Liverpool fan, but the sense that I've gotten from Bob is that he's just a big world football fan in general. I mean, people on TFC have told me this guy's always watching video, and not only just watching, he's using European stars, as sort of benchmarks as to show some of his players some of the tendencies that you can do. He mentioned that with Trent Alexander-Arnold, with Shaquille and Kosi and those guys, and the qualities that Trent Alexander-Arnold had are similar to the qualities that these guys have as they're converting from wingers to now wing backs. So, I mean, everything that I've heard about Bob, just to transition a little bit into talking about Bob here, is the job that he's done, I can't even wrap my head around, because
I know, me neither.
There's so many things that go into this, but in just a couple months' time, this guy has reset the culture here at Toronto FC. And, I've been lucky to go into training almost on a daily basis.
Have you go into training, which is fantastic.
And you get a sense of it. You get a sense of how in line the group is, how much unison there is among this certain Toronto FC group. And it's definitely rubbing off onto the pitch, where you can see that there's now a lot more unity on the pitch. There's not as much frustration, and it just looks like everyone's happy and bought into kind of being with this version of Toronto FC, which is really fun.
And we're in 5th place. I mean,
tied for 3rd.
Yeah. Oh wow, are we tied for 3rd now? Oh yeah, we are. I'm looking at the points total. Yeah. I mean, our goal differential is it's not terrible, but this is great. Like we're not setting the world on fire. He's reset the culture. So, the old adage of, well, well, we're winning right now, that's why everybody's happy. You can't really apply that unilaterally to the vibe at the training ground and inside the squad, which is an incredible positive, right? It means that, you know, this isn't just by consequence of a good record or good press. This is endemic. This is something structurally going on, and it's wonderful. I mean, we had the Tunnel Club post-game show after the Philadelphia game, and Mike and Sean were joined by Eric Giancometti, and of course he didn't assign a letter grade, but I did ask the group to assign Bob a letter grade, and I think the lowest was a B plus. I think Mike Newell gave him an A, and Sean gave him a B plus. I tweeted out that I give him an A plus because, oh my God. I mean, just to tie it back to the Oso, I was worried about Oso. You know, if you go back to the first media day, you know, where we were like trying to divine why certain players went up to the podium over other players, you know,
the last media day, you mean?
Yeah. And Richie goes up and we're like, oh, he's gone. He's gone for sure. And then Ozo came up after that. And I think to a man in our private chats, we were like, that means Oso's gone. Right. And you could see the disconnect between his successes with the Canadian men's national team and his failures with Toronto FC were really grating on him as a person. And maybe I'm
no, you're right.
I'm taking a step here, but you know, you don't see that anymore, or at least you don't see it to the same degree. And it hasn't been that long. Let's be honest, guys. It feels forever because, you know, we're still sort of in this quasi pando limbo, but it really hasn't been that long. And that's a microcosm of, I think, what's going on in that locker room. And wow, I mean, wow.
Mm-hmm. No, you're bang on. Your environment, to a sense, is what sort of motivates you. And the environment that Toronto FC were heading in, it wasn't an environment that challenged you. It wasn't an environment where you go in and you are keen on learning a bunch of different things. Now you head into that environment and you know that you're going to be pushed. You know that you're going to be motivated. You know that you can't slack off. There is actually, I mean, with the buzzword, there's actually accountability now within Toronto FC. And it's not just Bob, although Bob, I think, is setting that, but it's the other members of the coaching staff. It's the leaders now that are on the team. We asked Michael Bradley about the mood of the team after their win or their draw, I guess. I think it was Real Salt Lake. And the first thing that Michael points to are Jesus Jimenez and Carlos Salcedo. Those are two guys who make training more enjoyable, but they're also two guys who you can tell want to be better. They want to be there every day. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's saying that without precedent. And I think that precedent, of course, was Jeff's favorite player last season, and as well a couple of other guys. It's just day and night, the community there. So in a sense, that what they went through last year could actually bode well for this year because they have a greater appreciation of going into work every day and getting better. And I think, again, we're seeing that translate onto the pitch.
Yep. Yeah, in the same way that the 2016 team knew what the you know, hated losing that MLS Cup and turned it into a mantra in 2017. You know, I think that this team knows, you know, they have that chip on their shoulder, right? Not in the same way, certainly not in the same way, but definitely there are similarities. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you again, Mitch.
No, all good. I know this has turned into the Oso show a little bit, but I do think it's a great point in terms of, you know, everything I'd heard over the offseason was that Oso was basically 1 foot out the door. Like he made that clear in the press conference, but it seemed like he was ready to leave this club. And the fact that Bob Bradley was able to sell him on, no, I think you should stay and like we can still build something here. Not only that, but he's also we've seen the best of Osorio, and it's not just performance wise. It's also one thing I keyed on a lot over the past little bit in terms of Canada versus Toronto FC Osorio was the leadership quality and how with Canada you saw him barking at his teammates and holding everyone accountable. I think we need like a bell to ding every time we use that word. But you saw it, like Michael Bradley got a yellow card for yelling at the referee at some point during, I think it was the RSL match.
I think it was too, yeah.
and then
I think it was the most
Osorio.
recent match. No,
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was the most recent match.
against
But
Philly
then it
when
was
he got into it
Osorio.
with Martinez.
Right. Yeah, Osorio was that next guy who was up there talking to the referee. And we've seen him just be that bit more vocal on the field throughout matches. Like, he's definitely the captain incumbent now, and he didn't always look like that last season for Toronto FC.
100%.
So I do think
100%.
that's a very, very good indication of the culture shift that's happening within Toronto FC right now.
And
Oh, sorry. No,
I was gonna say, just quickly wrap that up. Is I wrote the article. I mean, this guy's on the verge of 300 appearances. He's one of our own. Came through our own backyard. Is the only player in MLS right now to do this. Only Canadian players come up with a Canadian club and still be with that Canadian club after this duration of time. Come on, guys! Like, we gotta get this going. And when he when he hangs up the boots, we gotta fight for Ozo to build that, for TFC to build that statue of Ozo.
I'll build it. I'll go every weekend. I'll build it. I'll make it out of Lego, man. It won't be that good. It won't be the best likeness, but I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on. Listen, Axis of Evil brought us into a segue that I actually wanted to take us into, and it is: has anyone else been disappointed in Salcedo's impact as a DP this year? I know it's still early, and we need to be impatient, but I expected more. I'm going to remove the DP tag from that question, because would we have invested in him as a DP if we weren't trying to offload the guy whose name sounds very similar? Maybe not. As a defender, as a starting center back, how many red cards has he gotten in 7-8 games? That's untenable. No, isn't it 2 now? I thought it's more.
One and a
got one revoked.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, still, he got it on the day. So that's not good. That ain't good. Any way you slice it, I don't need to bring in XG to convince you guys. So what do you think? What do you think's going on with him?
I'm on the complete other side of this. I think this guy is
good, amazing. Let's go.
Is amazing defender. I think you can tell the quality that he has every time he touches the ball. He's a leader at the back. His ball distribution is incredible.
I've seen. Yeah.
And I go back to that leader point, because that's such a desire that this team needed over the past couple of years. I mean, Omar Gonzalez simply was. Think about this guy, how much better this guy is than Omar Gonzalez. He is head over heels better than. I'll even go as far as saying I think he's the best defender that ever played for Toronto FC. I think he'll go down as that when all is said and done. Has he had a bit of a rough go at times? Sure. But at the same time, you look at the other 80 minutes, 85 minutes on the pitch, and this guy is absolute class. And then that's not without mentioning what he does every day at training and what he does in terms of the camaraderie within the group. Every time I speak, whether it's Ozo, Michael, other players on the team, every time I speak to them about Salcedo, they have nothing but positive things to say. And the way that he treats people, the way that he treats the backroom staff, everything I've heard about Salcedo is just extremely positive. And I think, sure, you'd like to clean up certain things about his game, but at the same time, there's no defender out there that's absolutely perfect. I mean, this is the sort of the style that this guy plays. He's very, he's not like Chris Mavinga, where, you do have a lot of those lapses, but you do have those lapses sometimes from Salcedo.
Is it coming from Liga MX where it's more encouraged to kind of mix it up after a questionable play and he just needs to get that out of his system? Or is that just me limiting another league to a binary statement, and I should probably never say it again?
Just to be clear, like, we're talking about the last game he played against RSL, which was his former team. There was definitely some emotion in him in that game. He was booed every time he touched the ball. So maybe that played a factor into sort of some of his lapses there. But we're really zeroing in on 2 moments here. We're zeroing in on the red card against RSL, which was about in the 85th minute, when him and Shane O'Neill got mixed up, miscommunicated. And then, of course, he turns around, tries to kick the ball, kicks the player's face, and gets a red card. That, for me, it's a situation that never should have happened. But that being said, I mean, it worked out for Toronto FC. I tweeted out at the time, I don't think that's the worst red card you can take in a game. The defender or the attacker's probably in on goal if you don't make that challenge. So I don't mind that too much. The second one was against Patrick Kamala, and those guys were kind of jostling all game. TFC were already down, I think 3-1 or 4-1 at that point in the match. And he goes in and he makes a really strong challenge on Kamala. And I think that's just because of what happened throughout the game. Now, at the time, all of us here were saying that we didn't think that was a red card, if I recall correctly. And it was warranted a suspension. I think a lot of TFC fans were saying that it didn't warrant a suspension. That was actually the talk of the town, at least from what I was gathering. So, I mean, I don't put too much stock into people getting too upset about Salcedo's play. I think that's very reactionary. I think it's very knee jerk, and I do think he'll be.
Listen, fine. Ryan brings up an interesting point, and it's Salcedo's presence, experience, and leadership has absolutely had an impact on O'Neill and McNaughton's ability to settle and thrive so far. There's still kinks to work out, but the impact is visible. I agree with that, but at the same time, But at the same time, if we're trying to settle on who our CBs are, if we're doing a back four or a back three, they need consistent reps, and this guy consistently getting suspended for 2 games, 3 games is kind of putting a spanner in the works. At least in my calculus, right? Like I'm all for all of this impact on the field, impact on the bench, impact in the locker room, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can't play, it's a detriment to Bob Bradley while he's trying to set up his team, right? And see who works well with everybody else. Mavinga's been marooned on an island of his own Mavinga-ness for a while. He just came back into the squad. Right. And they can't play together. He was amazing. He was lights out. I mean, this is another testament to Bob's brutalness, right? If you don't play well, you're not going to start, and you may not even get named to the bench, and you have to work your way back into the team. It doesn't matter who you are. We're seeing that pay dividends, but I can't ignore the fact that, one of our starting center backs seems to go into the sin bin as often as some people, change socks. So I do think it's an issue, and hopefully it's nothing. It's a nothing burger, and he gets it out of his system. I mean, Rachel says it right here. She says, he's a gem off the pitch. He reminds me of Boateng at Bayern. He's fantastic 98% of the time, but he is prone to the boneheaded red card.
Is there a part of you that likes that no nonsense type of defending, though?
Absolutely.
For me, I don't mind it too much as long as it doesn't become an everyday type of pattern. Obviously, a red card in 7 games, 8 games, another incident, that's concerning. But at the same time, I don't think we should be writing or anyone off or kind of being too overly concerned about this in such a short sample size. Go ahead, Mitch.
I'm mostly just shocked that Jeff only changes his socks once a month, but beyond that,
I was looking for something. I was like, yeah. I had to come up with this. I failed that joke. It didn't land, guys. It's fine. I'll be better next time. I swear.
But yeah. With that being said, I do think the fullback thing is a good thing worth mentioning, as well as the fact that there's no one who's played fullback this season other than like Caden Chung has actually played it before, and they're all like under 23. So there's the back line in general, like the players around Salcedo have a lot of learning to do still, and I don't think they found the perfect center back partner for him yet, or double partner if that's what they're going for, and I don't think that's necessarily been his fault. Like I do think it's been more on Mavinga, the issues with the Mavinga Salcedo partnership so far, and I don't think that's necessarily done with. I think there's plenty of time to work through that, and again, let's kind of transition here into some of the questions that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
We got one that I kind of want Mike to answer. Damien says that's why Crescido is coming in for the CB spot. Mike, I mean, is he even a going concern now? The man made a decision that he's going to play out the rest of the season in Serie A. Is he off the radar for TFC, or is without burning a source or whatever the case may be? I'm just curious as to whether they've changed tactics and just said, okay, fine, you want to stay in Genoa? Good, see you later. We'll find someone else.
like I've mentioned a couple shows ago, everything that I heard, I mean, I was surprised when they mentioned that Crescito was going to be coming earlier. I knew that in Genoa there were some issues actually with him in the club, because he's going to be running out of contract, and because he's going through he had a little bit of a rough injury with some calf injury. He had COVID as well. He was sidelined for a while. But then if you watch, that team is plummeting, and he actually featured for them over the weekend. So I everything that I heard originally was that he was going to be coming in the summer because he wanted to help Genoa above the relegation stage and stay up in Serie A. Unfortunately, that doesn't look like it is going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's happening, yeah.
But just to sort of summarize and answer your question, everything that I've heard, he's still definitely on the radar for Toronto FC, and we'll see how that plays out.
I think you actually like that from a player, right? Like, I think you want a player who shows a bit of that loyalty, who wants to, obviously he's coming to Toronto FC, or could be coming to Toronto FC this summer, but that willingness to stick around and make sure he leaves things in a decent stead with his old club before taking on a new project. Like, I do think that shows a bit of what you want from a player in terms of.
I would counter that we're now getting a guy who tried to do that and didn't, coming with a big gray cloud over his head.
We'll see. I mean, that is that's always a point. There's always a glass half full, glass half empty argument.
I always walk on the shady side of the street, Mitch. I'm here to Debbie Downer everyone. Yeah. We don't want Crescito anymore. He's going to be 1,000 years old next year, and forget that guy. Yeah,
let's venture down the shady side of the street now, because we've been kind of dancing around it the entire show, as much as we've been very positive about what Toronto FC's done through the start of the season. If you open up the hood a little bit and look at some of the metrics that we've discussed, there's definitely some cause for concern with Toronto FC. Now, obviously, the biggest one is a pretty solid set in stone number, which is the goals against of 12 so far this season, which is a lot. And if you want to look at their expected goals against, that's pretty close in line with that. So I think it's pretty fair to say the defending needs definitely some work from Toronto FC. Now, the biggest gap that everyone is talking about is their expected goals so far, which I think is around 6, and they've scored 11. So there's a big difference between that. As Rachel explained earlier, that's something that you definitely want to look for in terms of kind of regression to the mean, is when there's a massive difference between what a team's expected to score and what they score. Usually that ends up evening out at some point over the course of a season. So
we got Insigne coming. It's going climb. Yeah.
So I mean, there's some schools of thought of this, which Mike explained earlier. Toronto FC has some really good players, and Jesus Jimenez is a guy who's shown he can score goals from areas where the average player maybe wouldn't be expected to score. So that definitely adds to it. But I do think there is some cause to concern in terms of Toronto FC playing a little bit unsustainably here. They're negative 0.91 expected goal difference per 90 is second worst in the league, behind only San Jose, who's 0-3-4 to start this season. And if you look at the other teams in comparison to Toronto FC in that statistic, they all don't have shining records either. So there is cause for concern here. And obviously, there are definitely things they need to work on. But with that being said, they're without question ahead of schedule still. Like, the points are in the bank. We know Insigne is coming. Like, if they can stay at this point and then like slowly figure stuff out, like, you obviously rather want to be at a place where you're playing unsustainably well and picking up those points, and then you can figure things out from there, versus playing below that line and trying to work your way up. I think they're in a much better position as a result of that. But it is worth mentioning that, look, there is some cause for concern here in terms of the ways the teams have been playing, particularly offensively.
Well, let's let Rachel have another statement, and that is, I would expect Insigne Jimenez to consistently score above expected. Stars usually do. Everyone else is likely to regress, perhaps significantly. So my question to you guys, and I guess Rachel as well, is will there be equality? Like, will somebody else pick up the slack, or will the team regress to the mean? I mean, I've got here on one of the comments from WTR's boards is Jesus has the best goals to shot ratio of any player in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is that sustainable? Because if it is, we're going to be riding this wave of overperforming based on these sort of hard metrics, I think, right off into the sunset, potentially MLS Cup. So the stats nerds are going to be crying all season long, but maybe we're going to be celebrating at a parade by following a double-decker bus again, right?
I revert back to the eye test for this. I mean, Jesus Jimenez, he doesn't shoot very much because he only takes chances he believes he can score. That's what I've seen from him. He's a guy who has shown he's very capable of linking up with his teammates, and sometimes is a bit too unselfish. But he's also very smart at picking his moments. Yep. And we've seen that obviously translate into some of his finishes. I don't think any one of his finishes have been otherworldly. Like the one on the weekend was probably his nicest when he opened up his body before Oso actually passed him the ball and was ready to put that far corner, which I thought was very elegant, very clinical. But I think that's not otherworldly. I think it's just something that a proper number 9, especially one of his skill set, should be able to do. So
day in, day out, absolutely.
Insigne scores like 10 of those a season.
Exactly. I mean, and from the penalty spot as well. So the one that's worrying for me, it's not really their expected goals, because I think there's a lot more that's going to come from this team offensively. Like you're just scratching kind of the surface here. The one that worries me is their expected goals against. And while I do believe they are going to improve defensively this season, you think back to that Philadelphia game, Philly had a chance to put that match away within the first 10 minutes of the game. They missed an open header, wide open, like 6-yard box. I think 9 out of 10 times that's in the back of the net. I forget who it was, but he put it over the crossbar. And then they had another opportunity where I think it was Kosi or maybe it was Shane O'Neill who got beat on the outside there. Maybe it was Caden as well. They drove it across the 6-yard box. If their striker was half awake, he would have put that in the back of the net. He would have tapped that home. So two chances just right off the bat.
TFC in the first 10, 15 minutes are like contributing to my blood pressure.
But they have done a lot better at it, though. I don't know if I'm just basing that off results or they have been a lot better at not giving up too many clear-cut chances in the first 5-10 minutes. Again,
we get the disallowed goal too that obviously got sent off for offside, but still was concerning defensively, allowing a shot like that from the top of the box to get through.
Absolutely.
There's that. There's the a couple chances there I think Philly had throughout that match that I can't remember any clear-cut chances Toronto FC missed, unless I'm forgetting any against that Philly team. But that's the way the game was expected to go, at least in the sense that TFC weren't expected to outchance Philadelphia. And credit to the quality that they have up top, that they've been able to take their chances. And I do believe they are going to improve in front of goal. I also believe they're going to improve defensively. So I think we'll see kind of how this plays out. But what they've done so far is that they've definitely overachieved.
Another player who I think is starting to maybe scratch the surface of his offensive potential this year again, and a player who was incredible last year as well, as Jacob Schaffelberg, who I thought the past couple matches has been really, really good. He's starting to really get down that flank, and I mean that pace is a problem for teams. It continues to be, and now he's learning how to use it a lot better and a lot more conservatively defensively, but then taking advantage offensively. Jeff, what are you snickering about?
Well, it's just I remember what you said, that nobody wants that left winger spot because they're just basically a bench a placeholder for Insigne when they come. So you got Petrasso and Schaffelberg just basically trying to be wing backs over and above each other, because absolutely nobody wants that starting spot because their numbers up in like 2 months.
That is fair. I do think actually in terms of I think Petrasso might have had the better season so far, but I think in terms of the wingback position, I think Schaffelberg's shown a better kind of ability and suit to play that role so far this year. And I think we've seen strides from him already, which is good, because he was probably the one that I was most concerned about in terms of learning that role, just because I think has a lot of the winger attributes more than the defensive attributes to his game.
Isn't that wild?
Damon asked oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't that wild that Petrasso came in as like the natural left back, and Jacob Schaffelberg that's kind of won over that spot, and Petrasso's pushed up top. I get the sense that TFC haven't loved Petrasso at fullback or wingback when he has played it. I think they like him higher up the pitch with some of his qualities, but man, Petrasso is him and Shaft both are just such a breath of fresh air down that left side because they bring so much energy, so much youthfulness, and they don't stop working, which is something that I think this team desperately needed, especially last season when things were kind of going tough, which is why Shaft I think was probably the brightest spot last season because of his legs.
Work rate is insane.
His work rate is insane. Exactly. So yeah, go ahead.
He's always smiling. Anyway, this ties into what Damien is asking, which is, are you guys okay with our fullbacks and our midfield subs all being academy products? Do we feel TFC should be looking to acquire reinforcements in these areas? I'm very okay with it presently. I mean, these are meaningful minutes and the kids are all right. I mean, they're doing great, and we're finding out stuff about them that we wouldn't if they were blocked by a Tsubasa Endo or a Nick DeLeon, as they have been, over the last couple of seasons. There's nobody standing in their way, other than the specter hanging over that left wing spot. but no, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. We are in all respects playing with house money right now. Nobody expected us to be tied for third. With this overachieving stuff, nobody expected Jesus Jimenez to come in just screaming confidence and screaming chemistry.
Whoa! I did. Come on.
Did you expect him to be this good?
I did.
Okay,
wow. I did.
That's amazing.
I placed a bet on him. Golden boot.
Ooh, I mean, you're only a goal off at this point.
I have the receipt for it as well. That's just I tweeted it out after his first appearance. I said this guy's going to go down and be one of the signings of the season. When I went on MLS Extra Time, I think I talked about it as well. I think this guy's
one of the most
under the radar.
And just play it.
I
said
it on this show multiple times too. I mean, I think he just oozes quality. When I saw him in preseason link up with Paz and his teammates, I knew this guy was going to be different. Just watching his highlight videos, I mean, I felt like he was such a good value signing and something.
I can't watch highlight videos. Too much dubstep. I just can't. It rots my brain. Rachel is piping in again. It's good that the academy is finally producing, in my opinion, and we haven't even seen Ralph. She's right. I have no issue with this. This is what we wanted. We will see. We've got time to figure this out. Aaron is asking, what if Ayo steals his job? That's an interesting question. If I'm Ayo Akinola right now, I'm quaking in my boots because I don't see a way in to starting number 9 as long as Jesus is leading the way.
Both of them have and can play winger, though, so that's worth mentioning as well.
Can they, though?
I think so. I think Ayo Akinola has played some of his best game, not in MLS necessarily, but coming up.
I think Achara is a winger. More than he's an essential player.
That I definitely agree with. We'll see. I mean, it is possible, and there's plenty of.
Put him on left wing. There's no competition there.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Bradley in general and the way he's approached these young players is like he has tried a lot of different things and seen what works and seen what doesn't. I mean, he's tried out Noble for a couple of games. Ralph's gotten in for a few. He's tried different looks. He even tried, he's tried Kosi in a couple different positions, and that seems to be working fairly well recently. So he's willing to be flexible with his young players and, give kind of rotating them all in and giving them a chance. And if something sticks and is starting to work, then go ahead. You've got your spot for a bit. And, certainly with Petrasso, is we've seen that. So I think that's been kind of a promising. We've never seen that from a TFC manager before. He's willing to give these guys a bit of leeway to make some mistakes before just yanking their spot.
Yeah, and never to be seen again. Absolutely. Axis is asking if we've got any updates on Shaquille Marshall-Ruddy.
Yeah, I actually, I just did. Not too long ago, actually.
You were holding it from us?
I've been always. You guys don't know what I'm tapping into here. So yeah, no, if you guys have been watching him on Instagram as well, you've probably seen glimpses of this. But Jaquil's walking, sorry,
Oh,
which is
nice.
obviously a great sign, especially after having surgery about 2 weeks ago. The team set out an initial timeline of 8 to 10 weeks, and I'd say he's probably on track for that. I'd say he's probably about 7-8 weeks away. So hopefully we're looking at something like beginning of June. But I'm again, like with this guy at his age, you're gonna play it extra, 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 extra safe. They're not going to rush him into anything, no matter how eager he is. I mean, his future is too bright to kind of risk anything like that.
Love it.
So, Damien, just circling back to your question here, the way that I would kind of answer that and phrase that is, don't be too stressed about TFC, TFC's roster right now and their roster makeup. I think it's great that they are playing their kids right now. But the way that I would describe it is this version of Toronto FC, they're in stage 1 of a 4-stage process. Mm-hmm. This version of TFC is just scratching the surface. Exactly. It's episode 0 of what we are going to see from this team come the summer, come next season. I think it was James Grossi. I think we always kind of go back to this. When a new coach comes in, it takes about 2 years for you to actually see what that coach's vision is for a team. Bob Bradley's kind of expedited that process in some ways, with some of his brutal moves this offseason in terms of turning over the roster. But don't be too stressed about this Toronto FC team and the roster makeup right now, because this team's going to look a lot different come the summertime. And even from a year from now, you might not even recognize a lot of this team. So just stay patient with them, but enjoy kind of what's going on right now, because as Jeff alluded to, as you guys have all touched on, what's happening right now is something that hasn't happened before within Toronto FC. And it's the young kids given a chance, and not only given a chance, they're given a chance to succeed. They're being put in positions right now where you have guys like Carlos beside them. You have guys like Alejandro in the midfield, Jonathan Osorio, Jesus Jimenez, guys who are all there to help these young kids. We see very often Paz is one of the first players the young guys kind of try to pass the ball to. And that's such a helpful asset to have on the team, because all these young guys, they're learning on the fly. They're learning how to survive right now in MLS, and they're being put with players who can help them do that. And over the last couple of years, that just hasn't been the case. So enjoy kind of what's going on right now, but it won't be the case for very much longer, I believe.
Yeah, it's smart business. It's an evaluation standpoint. You start this season, you have, instead of going out and, being reactive and making all of these big signings in the shortened window you had with Bob Bradley coming in over the winter, you go in now, you see, okay, Jaden Nelson, what do we have in this guy? Do we really need another right wing option there, or can Jaden fill that role? Same thing with the fullback positions. Do we need to bring in an experienced left back, or is that something Schaffelberg can do? These are all things that we're finding out, and we're going to find out over the course of the next little bit. And then that allows them to go out and be like, okay, maybe these guys aren't turning out how we were hoping. This is where we can fill in a need. And it's a really smart way to build your roster with where Toronto FC is at right now. And we're already finding out, like we've been saying so many times, finding out gems like Petrasso, finding out guys like Kosi Thompson getting some good opportunities and showing what they can that never would have happened before. So this is what you open yourself up to. And like Michael said, the standard hasn't dropped. This club still holds itself to that big club standard, and they're going to go out. They're going to spend that money. They're going to make sure this is a club that's going to compete with the top of MLS. But one of the best ways to do that is still, seeing what you have in these young players. And that's found money, essentially, because they really don't cost you anything against the cap. And then you can spend even more on some super cool luxury player who can come in and do a billion step overs and
player.
Please don't
have nice bright hair and
oh gosh
Jeff's getting knives.
Yeah.
I think Jefferson Sotelo would do good on this team, guys. I'm gonna say it.
No,
yeah, how many
stop it.
episodes did Telda do on this version of Toronto FC,
Stop
Jeff?
it.
Let's get
Stop it. No, I don't even want to. I'm not even doing that thought exercise. Do
I
we
think we
want
actually turned Jeff's face red.
You did. I'm mad. Yeah, Armando Cooper. Are we gonna let's wrap it up, boys? Let's talk about NYCFC over the weekend or at the weekend. Going to City Field, so we don't get to our turbo pitch, although it is a size approximation of our lovely little turbo pitch at Yankee Stadium. I'm sure the banner will travel because it's pocket sized, it's fun size, so anyone can take it with them. You know, they got the clocks cleaned by Seattle in CONCACAF. You know, they're not really doing that well.
Whoa!
Did
season.
you watch
see what
this
happened
weekend?
on the weekend?
What did they do?
They dummied RSL 6-0.
They killed RSL.
Oh yeah, I did remember that, but it's RSL.
4 goals by Tati. RSL's second in the Western Conference.
All right, fine. I don't know anything. Just tell me what this weekend's all about.
No, but hey, if this weekend didn't happen for New York City, I'm right on the same boat with you. Is that I wrote an article for this on MLS. Is there any cause for concern within New York City right now based on the way that they started the MLS regular season? Because as we've seen, I mean, we've all witnessed.
We lived it. We lived it.
We know what can happen when you get that MLS Cup hangover, when you have Champions League, a Champions League run to worry about. We know what can happen within the league, but they came out, they made a statement last weekend, and I believe they'll be hungry this weekend to make a statement against a Toronto FC team that got the better of them not too long ago. But that being said, we're heading to TFC's favorite place in the world. Jeff's favorite place in the world.
New York.
No, I mean
pitch.
It's not the turbo pitch. It's City Field. They're playing at the Met Stadium.
Oh, is it?
Yankee Stadium.
Game changer.
Yeah. Well, it's not really a game changer because Sean Johnson will still be in net, and Paz loves haunting his nightmares. So, I'm never worried. It's been how many years now that I've not been worried about New York City Football Club since Seba, the Seba TFC put them on that 7-1 aggregate. There's just something about that score that I don't fear these guys. And that might be to my detriment, but I don't fear NYCFC.
Every club, like, obviously they go through iterations and style changes, but every club has kind of that boogeyman team that just, for whatever reason, they just, like, no matter how bad or how good they are, they just play them off the park. And, we've seen Toronto FC do that to Columbus a lot throughout the past couple seasons, where for whatever reason, the way Columbus crew play, TFC just usually causes them a lot of issues. So every club has that thing. I think Toronto FC is that in a big way for New York City FC, and we'll see what comes this weekend. I think Michael's right in terms of how he framed this, though. NYCFC are a wounded animal. They'll want revenge against TFC, revenge against everyone, and to prove that this isn't some kind of hangover here, that they are once again contenders.
Well, without getting too far ahead of ourselves too, we look at Toronto FC's schedule right now, and as I've mentioned a couple of times, TFC at this point, they're playing with house money. Between now and the summer, anything that happens for Toronto FC that's positive, they take it to the bank.
Yep.
So it's been a really positive start to the year, and they've beaten some really tough opponents. We think about, away to RSL, they got the draw. Obviously, Columbus didn't go the way that they wanted, but they still put in a strong performance. Away to Dallas is not really an easy fixture this year. And then they beat DC, which, I think they should beat DC. But then they beat New York City, and they beat Philadelphia. So, a bit of a tough schedule kind of out the gate. But then you look at their next couple matches after this one against New York City FC, you have back-to-back games against Cincinnati.
Nice.
And then you have Vancouver, which, I don't want to be too hard on Vancouver right now, but not looking like the best side in MLS. Nope. And then you have a tough one in Orlando City, who's playing really well, actually. Then you go back to DC and then Chicago. So this next month and a bit, as to get them to sort of June there, they have a favorable schedule. And if they can get a couple of important results here, they're set up very, very nicely for the summer when they get a lot of key additions into this team.
Love
And as we said, like they're playing with house money, and right now they're winning. So this is about as good as I could have imagined this team at this point in the season. Where
that's a that they couldn't express it more eloquently if we try.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it's so much better to be in that or in the position where we're waiting for the bottom to fall out than waiting for like them to raise above the line. I know obviously, you know, there might be some tougher games ahead, but like Mike said, like that's a fairly decent schedule for them, and I only expect them to get better. They've already shown signs of growth, and I think we can definitely expect that to continue, just as we hope to on this show. Obviously, you know, we'll work on the intro, the outro, which I guess we don't have one this week. So Jeff, you can just
no, I'm gonna roll the other one again. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's a good good show. But yeah, no, we'll continue to improve things as we go here. But you know, we are so excited with. Again, can't thank Annie hard enough. The branding looks amazing.
Absolutely,
and we are so thankful for all the time she put in making this this, you know, how we wanted, and we're really excited to continue.
So good to be back, guys. This was fantastic. This hour went by so damn quickly.
Always does.
I'm looking forward to next week, mates. Absolutely. Anyway,
don't forget to tune in for the Tunnel Club, eh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Too, yeah, we've been even while we were away, we've still had content going out with the Tunnel Club post game matches or post match shows. They've been absolutely fantastic.
No, I like post game matches. It's like another soccer game on a podcast form. It's just Mike and Sean, you know, doing color commentary for their own two aside. Fantastic.
I would listen to that. I think.
Me too. I have listened to that. So yeah.
There we go. All right, that will do it for us this week. As we said, thank you so much for listening and interacting. We are only here because of your support. And we love all of the comments and questions and reminders and everything else we get throughout the show and afterwards. And yeah, we're so excited to step into this new era with all of you. Another shout out because we can't do it enough. Annie Hart, thank you so much.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm Mitchell Tierney on behalf of Jeffrey P. Nesker and Michael Singh. Until next Tuesday.
And wait, and baby, I'm TFC till I die.